struggle. We despise the struggle. We spend our lives trying to avoid the struggle. As parents, we do everything we can to try to keep our children from experiencing the struggle. But I want to submit to you that maybe we shouldn't despise the struggle. Maybe it's actually the struggle that can make us stronger. Maybe the struggle is a vehicle that can lead us into more than we ever expected out of ourselves. Let's take, for instance, in nature. Any good farmer will tell you that when a baby chick is hatching out of that egg, that you don't want to disturb that. There's some reasons for that. First of all, you want that chick to absorb all the nutrients so it's able, when it gets on the outside, to have the strength to fight against the elements it's going to face. The farmer will tell you that that chick needs to bust against that eggshell to develop the strength in his legs so that he can stand on his own when he's outside of the shell. Furthermore, if you try to assist him, there's pathogens that can be transferred to his wet body from your hands that can actually do more harm than good. Countless examples in nature. You think about the baby fawn trying to stand for the first time as it struggles to make its way to its feet, but it's the struggle that will ultimately carry that fawn into adulthood. I was raised in the mountains of southwestern Virginia. I was raised in a lower middle class home. We lived in a small trailer park, and my father was a coal miner. My grandfather was a coal miner, and his father before him was a coal miner. My uncles were coal miners. Hey, I thought everybody was a coal miner. The laundry room, I just thought that everybody's dads would come home. When I was a pre-K kindergarten student, I thought everybody's dads came home pitch black. It would strip down to nothing right in front of the washing machine so that it didn't get coal dust all over the house. That was our existence. My father would be laid off from work from time to time. My parents were poor money managers. And so there was times that we would have plenty. We would go on trips to Gatlinburg, and we would have great experiences as a family. But then there was other times that even as a child I can remember that things just weren't there. I would get so excited because a lot of those meals we would have during those lean times would be cereal. And there would be certain places we would go, and I can still have this memory of peanut butter Captain Crunch. Little did I realize until later that was because we were visiting food pantries that happened to have that. Because when we went to the grocery store, we didn't get name brand food. We had to choose whatever was the cheapest, and that would be our breakfast, our lunch, and our dinner. That was an experience that I grew accustomed to as the years went by. I learned how to fit in with the students, even in the lean times when everyone else talked about trips they went on, vacations they went on. I would just laugh with them, I would just tell stories with them, and I would never give them or share my own experience. I continued just to kind of press on through that little struggle that I was going through at that moment. I have a memory of a birthday party when I was about 8 years old. We had this birthday party, and I got an Atari, and I was so excited for my first game system. A few months later, in that summer before school started, it was one of the times my father was out of work. I was sitting on the floor in front of our console model television. I was playing the game. A man knocked on the door, and there was a conversation. I was playing. I wasn't listening. My father went to another room and got an empty box, walked into the living room, began to unplug the Atari, boxed it up while I sat on the floor and cried, and sold the Atari out the front door that I'd gotten for my birthday about a month and a half earlier. I didn't realize at the time it was because we needed money for food, and that's what was the source of that income. This kind of continued on in my life until I was around middle school. In the mid-'80s, my father was injured in a coal mines. It would be an injury that would take him down a downward spiral. He had a few surgeries. He would have to begin to take medication for the pain. And we noticed a difference in our father. Our father became very hard. Our father became really difficult to live with. My mother actually was successful. She got full-time employment for the first time really in her life. She had part-time before that, and she started doing very well. And so she was the sole provider for our family. Still didn't have a lot of means. But my father had a difficult time with his injury, dealing with the pain, dealing with his transition of the role that he had in the family. And so became very verbally abusive. And this continued over the course of a few years. And so I found an outlet. I found an outlet in athletics. And so I worked hard in athletics. I would go to weightlifting. I would go to all the open gyms. I would go to the practices. I would shoot basketball at the parks for night on end. It was just kind of my hiding place. And that continued on until I was about a high school junior. And my father, all of a sudden, the abuse turned from being just verbal abuse. He started getting physical. I was getting physical with my mother. I can remember being woke up one night and my mother was yelling, and my brother and I ran to the other end of the house, and we opened the door, and there was my mother laying on the floor crying, had bruises on her. This continued to the point where I decided one day that I wasn't going to take that anymore. I wasn't going to see my mother beat up anymore. And so my father became enraged, pushed my little brother, and so I said, I'm going to beat him up. And that's what I set out to do. He ran into his room, got a .38 revolver, pointed it in my face. And that's where a different level of abuse began to occur. Over the next few months, I can't tell you the time that I looked down the business end of a .38 revolver, of a 12-gauge shotgun, and heard my own father saying that he was going to kill me, kill my mother, kill my brother, and then kill himself. It got to the point to where we just kind of disregarded it. It's almost like it was just something that happened. I didn't tell my friends about it. The role of the counselors at school was different back then. And so it was just something that I learned to push on through. Just worked every day to push on through. Something I grew accustomed to. August 15th, 1995, I was doing some work for a family. I get a call to come to the local football field. I thought my brother had been injured. I got in my truck. I had just graduated high school a few months before. I was going to go to college. No one in my family had ever attended college before, first generation college student. And so I drove to the football field. My old high school coach came up, grabbed me by the shoulders, and said, Scott, your father has murdered your mother, and now your little brother needs you, now more than ever. I remember walking into that locker room and seeing my 16-year-old brother, all 260 pounds of him, curled up in a small wooden locker, crying. And all I knew how to do was go and put my arms around him and say, we're going to make it through this. So we kept pressing. We kept working. We kept doing everything we knew how to do. I got co-guardianship of my brother. My uncle, who worked a lot, was the other guardian. And so it was just my brother and myself in a home. My brother, at the age of 16, had a drug addiction. So here I am. I'm a first-generation college student in my freshman year of college. I was working a job at a grocery store and doing part-time work, mowing yards and doing jackhammer work for people on the side while dealing with a drug-addicted 16-year-old at home. To the point when my mom was killed, I had never even balanced a checkbook. And so now here I am having to try to provide for my family and manage everything going on in my life. There was a murder trial going on for my father. And so I was in court sometimes 3-4 days a week. I tried to take the burden off of my brother, and so I tried to handle everything. And through all of this, all I knew how to do is just keep on working. Every day, little by little, keep pushing through. Over the course of time, we kept working, we kept pushing, we kept surrounding ourselves with people that was the right influence on us and set us on the right track. Had some help along the way. That's something else that work has taught me and pushing on through has taught me is pretty soon if you keep pushing, the right people will line up in the right places. Of course, our faith journey was a big part of that story, but we kept on working along the way. Until finally, there was a tipping point somewhere. And I can't tell you where that is. It's different for everyone. Because everyone's struggle is different. But somewhere in our struggle, we found that tipping point to where no longer were we trying to rotate bills so that they wouldn't turn off the water or turn off the power or turn off the cable. The tipping point was there where all of a sudden opportunities started opening up for us. Doors began to open. My brother finally got the help that he needed. He didn't have that drug problem to deal with anymore. What I can tell you is this, is that somewhere along the way in the struggle, there was something that was developed in me. There was a lower gear that was developed there, that when things got hard, I didn't look for a way out. I didn't look for an excuse. I didn't look to point for a reason why it couldn't be done. I just dropped it down in a lower gear and I started pushing through because I knew somewhere in the midst of that struggle there was a way out, and if I just pushed hard enough, I could get there. Finished college. I was the first person in my family to ever get a college degree. Got some great jobs along the way, very fortunate, because it's amazing that the harder I worked, the luckier I got. Isn't that amazing how that works sometimes? And so I got some great jobs. I had some opportunity to get some higher education because I thought, hey, if I can become the only person in my family to get a bachelor's degree, why not become the only person in my family to get a master's degree? And so I got a master's degree along the way. Decided that, hey, I'm going to start helping other people as well. I've been pretty fortunate. People have helped me along the way. So how about I help somebody else? I started looking for people that I could help along the way. Give them some advice. Give them some encouragement. Try to help them through their situation. It's always been a dream of mine to become an educator, even though I majored in business in college. So I thought, hey, why not go back while I'm working and get my education certificate? And I can teach as well. So I did it. I became an educator. Somewhere in the midst of education, I thought, I think I could probably run this place. Why not go back and see if I can get my leadership degree? So I went on and I got my leadership degree. In the midst of doing my leadership degree, I read some really neat research along the way. And I said, hey, I think that I could do research like that. I think I'll go on and get my doctorate degree and do my own research. So that's what I did. And so by pushing a little more, taking a step every day, I found that there was a way out of the struggle. There was a way that I could overcome what most people would say I should have been a statistic, really a shattered situation because of growing up in poverty, being a victim of domestic abuse, seeing my mother's body on the front of the local newspaper with a sheet draped over him, and going and seeing my father sentenced to life in prison. But I decided I don't want to be on that side of the struggle. I don't want to be known for what took me down. I want to push through. I pushed through to the point where today I have a happy marriage. Something that most people would have said back then would never happen. I have two wonderful sons today. That one of the reasons that I wanted higher education is because I read somewhere that if I had a degree, then they were more likely to have a degree. And so I thought, I want to do the best for them too, so I pushed on through. And they're doing great things today as well. See, I look at all of this, and I look at people that are going through things, and they despise their struggle. And I've said to many of them, don't let the struggle get the best of you. Push through the struggle and allow that struggle to forge something in you, to build character in you, to do something to where you learn endurance and perseverance. So I want to encourage you. The next time you're in the midst of your struggle, don't despise the struggle. Reach down for that gear that you never knew you had. Press on a little further, because it just may be that the struggle will make you stronger.